Thank you to Incogni for sponsoring a portion of this video. So for years, I've been saying it, Samsung makes the best displays in the phone business. Not always the best cameras, not always the best battery life, the display. Like, that's been my hill for years. So did I tell you the most exciting new feature on the Galaxy S26 Ultra might actually be making the display worse? Stay with me, because that tension is kind of the whole story with this phone. So this is the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. It's about $1,300. Before we get into it, I do want to be upfront. This is not a full review. I'm still spending time with this phone and that review is coming. This is me trying to answer the question I've been getting from a lot of people since Unpacked. Is it worth it or should you buy it? And I've had this thing at baseball fields, around the house, all the places to actually use a phone. And my honest answer surprised me a little bit. So let me walk you through why. Privacy display is what everyone's talking about, and it deserves the attention. And it's not just like a screen protector you put on top. We've seen those for years. Samsung actually rebuilt the pixel architecture at a hardware level. So display now has narrower and then wider, wider pixels working together. So when you flip the privacy display on, it sort of kills the pixels responsible for the wide viewing angles. And from straight on, the screen looks normal. And the second someone tries to peek from the side, they get gray, they get dark, or it's black, can't see anything. What makes it actually useful, and I do want to be clear, this is not just a cool demo you do once and forget about it, is how granular these controls are. You can run it full time, set it per app, set it for just notifications, so when your texts pop up, no one's gonna see what's on it. On a plane, on a train, in an automobile. Anywhere you've ever sort of tilted your phone away from a stranger sitting next to you, this just quietly handles that for you. Now here's the part that Samsung is not putting in the commercials. I think it's the most important part of this video. So the technology behind privacy display changes the fundamental pixel architecture of this screen, and that's got real consequences even when the feature is turned off. Nothing enabled, just a phone sitting in your hand, whatever, browsing Instagram. The viewing angles on the S26 Ultra are noticeably worse than the S25 Ultra in normal everyday use. Brightness falls off faster when you tilt it. There's a very subtle color shift at angles that you never had to think about on previous Samsung displays. And if you kick it up to maximum privacy mode, the display gets dimmer and more washed out than anything Samsung has shipped in years. I spent a lot of time telling people again that Samsung makes the best displays, and I still think this is a great screen. When you're looking at it straight on, it's the first time I've had to put an asterisk next to that. But at $1,300, you deserve to know that up front, and after you get home and start, scrolling around. And this is why I keep coming back to the same advice. You have to see this phone in store before you buy it. Look at the privacy from different angles with privacy display turned on and turned off. That's kind of the moment of truth. No spec sheet, no review, no YouTube video can make that call for you. So I do want to take a quick break and thank this video sponsor, Incogni. If you're watching a video about whether to spend $1,300 on a phone, decide if it's worth it, which tells me you care about where you're spending your money. So here's something worth knowing in that vein. While you're doing your research, data brokers are selling your name. They're selling your address, selling your phone number, relatives info, and a lot more to basically anyone willing to pay for it. If you ever wonder why you're getting 13 spam calls a day or phishing texts that somehow know your name, that is not a coincidence. That is data brokers doing what they do. Incogni fixes that. You sign up, give them the minimum info needed to track down your profiles, authorize them once to go out and act on your behalf, and they go to work sending removal requests to hundreds of data brokers absolutely automatically, and keep sending them because this stuff has a way of creeping back. And if you find your data somewhere specific, a news site, a directory, a health app, you can send Incogni the link directly, and real privacy experts handle that takedown. They're also the only data removal service independently verified by Deloitte, which matters if you're trusting someone with your privacy. Manual removal of these things run hundreds of hours. This is just like a set it once and forget it. It is worth it. I get probably 17 spam calls before I signed up for this, and now that number is cut in half. Use code John Rettinger at incogni.com/John Rettinger. You get 60% off annual plan. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it without much of a risk. Link is down below. And that's a big determining factor with this phone. You might not mind how the screen looks. You might like how the screen looks. You might look at it and be like, hell no, but you have to see it in person to make that determination. And if you decide to make that determination, know weirdly the phone ships with FHD resolution out of the box, not the full QHD resolution you're paying for. That is oddly buried in display settings with no prompt to change it during setup. Most people are going to own this phone and use it for their whole lives without getting the resolution they paid for. Just know that. Hurt battery life a little bit. All right, I do want to talk about cameras, because after all that display conversation, you deserve, I think, some good news. The core hardware, and same as last year. So you've got a 200 megapixel main, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, 10 megapixel 3x telephoto, 50 megapixel 5x telephoto, but the main 5x both get wider apertures. And real shooting, that shows up. So I had this phone at my boys' baseball game last weekend, coaching from the side, trying to get shots across the diamond, and the light was kind of doing Southern California thing where it gets beautiful and then impossible in like 20 minutes. Zoom held up, the action shots came through, the aperture improvements give you more room when the light gets tough. These cameras were great last year, they're great this year. That's not like a knock, just an honest answer. They were good then, they're good now. What did catch me off guard though was video, specifically horizontal lock. But it's one of those features where I think you try it and immediately assume that you did it wrong, and then try it again, and I kind of started laughing. It's crazy, perfectly level. If you shoot any kind of handheld video of moving subjects, kids, sports, anything where keeping the camera steady is already a full-time job, this becomes part of like your muscle memory. It is genuinely that good. Not the first phone to ship with it, but it is here and is absolutely awesome. And if horizontal lock changes how you capture video, APV changes what you do with it after. So think of this as Samsung's version of Apple's ProRes. It's a professional format that kind of holds way more information than standard, usually phone compressed videos. You can shoot and log, apply LUTs on the phone before or after recording, edit the footage right in the gallery app without sort of touching a laptop. The quality in APV mode is legitimately impressive. The whole workflow is way more accessible than it's been in the past. Worth mentioning too, the switch back to aluminum from titanium, which a lot of people are calling a downgrade, me included, does help the phone handle the heat from sustained APV recording without throttling. So the thing that sounds like Samsung cut corners, actually doing some real work behind the scenes, just don't mention durability. Battery has been solid. The 5,000 milliamp hour capacity hasn't changed since, I think, the S20 Ultra. So 6 generations, same milliamp hours, which is its own thing, but the new chip is efficient enough that a full day is not a problem. Charging jumps to 60 watts and gets about 75% in like 30-ish minutes, which is useful if you're running out the door. What is not useful, I need Samsung to explain this to me slowly, is they still didn't put a magnet array inside a phone with native Qi 2 support. Pixel 10s got it built in, and here's the part that gets me, Samsung's first party cases have the magnets in them, which means Samsung absolutely knows people want this. They built a solution for it and decided to not put it in the actual phone. If you want the magnets, buy the case at $1,300 in 2026. That's a choice that's getting harder to defend, especially if you're cross-shopping Android platforms. The AI features have gotten legitimately better, sort of in a few of them I think are worth talking about. Now Nudge lives in the keyboard and surfaces kind of relevant context without you asking. If you're texting someone about plans and the address is already in your calendar, it brings it up right there. It's the kind of thing that I think sounds minor, you kind of gloss over, but it will save you, 30 seconds of app switching, and over time that adds up. The Gemini-powered automated app actions, where you describe what you need done and the phone handles it in the background, they're not fully rolled out yet, but they work well when they work, and it's clearly sort of where I think this is heading. Photo Assist is cool. You can now add things to images instead of just removing them, which opens up a lot of creative options if that's your jam. None of this is the reason to buy the phone, but Samsung's AI suite has sort of crossed from thing you turn off after a week to thing you occasionally really appreciate. And I think for AI on a mobile device, that's big progress. So here's where I land. I think the S26 Ultra is worth it, particularly if you're coming from an S23 Ultra or anything older. The cameras are excellent. Horizontal lock alone changed how I shoot video. APV is generally like a differentiator for anyone creating content. Battery life is strong, and the privacy display, I think, is real innovation that works exactly as advertised. The chip is faster, the build is refined, Samsung software has matured to the point where the AI stuff is actually adding value instead of just adding like noise and taking up RAM. Also, real quick on the color, this is Cobalt Violet. Ramal called it Thanos Purple, which was absolutely perfect. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to go out and buy one without saying this one more time. The display trade-off is real. Viewing angles are worse even with privacy display off. And when you crank up maximum privacy mode, the brightness and color take a hit that Samsung loyalists are going to notice. And again, been saying this to make the best displays, and this is still a great screen, but the first time I've had to add conditions to that. And whether those conditions matter to you is something you gotta see with your own eyes. Again, go to a store, look at it from angles, spend 5 minutes with it before you drop 1,300 bucks. Because that screen is probably the whole decision. Once you see it in person, I think you'll know immediately whether that phone is for you or not.